Hello and welcome to How Not to Play, the channel where I play Magic badly. If you've been catching my streams nightly at 10 p.m. Eastern, you'll know that I have recently been trying to figure out which is the best starter deck. So as you may or may not know, depending upon how much of this channel you watch, I like to recommend the starter deck duels to newer players as a way of getting experience playing Magic, of completing your daily quests, of getting your gold to then get into drafts or standard events or whatever your main thoroughfare is. Um, to convert those gold then into gems, which you can use to purchase your mastery pass for even more packs and rewards. So like I said, I recommend the starter deck duels very heavily. So I have been trying to figure out which of the starter deck duels or which of the starter decks is the best. So in the starter deck duels, you get to pick one of these 10 starter decks, and whichever one you pick is the one that you can then play around with and, beat your opponents, get your daily quests, get your daily gold, and so on and so forth. Um, but which one is the best? So when I log in to Magic every day, I go to my little daily quest here. I go ahead and do my refresh, try to get my 750. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. So we've got our 750 gold quest here of casting white or black spells. So once I get that quest, I now know what colors I'm going to be playing around with today. So then we go into our starter deck duels. We pick our white-black deck, Legions of Phyrexia, and we play our games. I recommend playing up to 5 wins. That is what works best for me, because if you go through the entire mastery season at 5 wins per day, you will max out the mastery pass with about a week to spare. So that's what I recommend. To do your starter deck duels, get your 5 wins per day. And so then once we've got our colors and our quests ready, we then just play a game. Charging ahead. Sure, let's go ahead and drop Sleeper. Alright, got a Phyrexian Arena out, essentially. Pay a life, draw a card. Let's do it. Three kill spells should get me through whatever he's got. Big loss? Sure, that's a good one. I don't really want a critter. Let's go for the creature token, or the treasure token. Alright, we got another kill spell. Awesome. Yep, we're just gonna draw into a kill spell every turn. Okay, that was awesome. That was pretty good. I'm not gonna lie. So once you get up to 5 wins, that's the first time you get one of these little reward cards. So once you get to that, you know you're at your stopping point. And then we can look and see how we did. So as we can see here on this spreadsheet, we've got where I've been tracking kind of my win-loss rate. Today we were on Legions of Phyrexia, so that's kind of what we've been doing here. I've got an overall win rate of 73.5%, which I think is pretty good. Uh, Overall, in starter deck duels, I have a win rate of 65%, which I think is pretty good. Um, and that's over 330 games. And so I've kind of been keeping track of each matchup that I play. So as we can see, Legions of Phyrexia, I've gone 3-1 versus Arcane Aggression, the red-blue deck. Some decks, like here with Legions versus Scrapyard Sacrifice, I've only played that matchup once. So I don't have a ton of data. But I have been keeping track of my 330 games here on this spreadsheet, and you can see kind of how things plotted out. On my next sheet, I've got the flip side. This is my opponent's win-loss rate against me. So, for example, that Scrapyard Sacrifice deck that we see right here is 0-1 versus Legions of Phyrexia. Um, so that's just the flip side of that coin. And that's really just kind of data capture for the overall or combined sheet. So this is every time these two decks have come up, whether I'm the pilot or whether I'm the defender. So here we get the full Legions of Phyrexia has an overall win-loss rate of about 56%. And so we can see that's probably going to be middle of the pack or so. If we go back to Legions versus Scrapyard Sacrifice, we now see that there are 4 total games between Legions and Scrapyard Sacrifice for a 75% win rate of Legions versus Scrapyard. So I've only played that matchup once piloting Legions, which means the other 3 times I was piloting the red-black deck Scrapyard Sacrifice. And so here we see that Scrapyard Sacrifice has an overall 25% win rate against Legions of Phyrexia. Granted, that's only over 4 games, so that's not a lot of data. Once again, I've only been doing this for about a month. But it is enough to kind of see how some things are lining up deck to deck. And so on this page, I've kind of got, first of all, my predictions on how the different decks were going to play based upon my experience in the format going into this experiment. So I predicted that Valor and Rebel Armory would be the top decks. They're kind of your aggro decks that really just push the damage early and quick. Arcane Aggression, Growing Hope are going to be my like A tier. Your good solid decks. They have some weaknesses, but overall they're pretty strong. Legions of Phyrexia, Grave Secrets, I guessed would be kind of middle of the pack. Savage Scavengers charging ahead, not very good, with Scrapyard Sacrifice and Sylvan Wisdom as the absolute bottom. And things didn't really go too far off plan. Rebel Armory, we've seen, is one of the best decks in the format by a good margin. So 65% win rate overall for Rebel Armory. Once again, that's based off of this sheet here. We can see Rebel Armory has a 65% overall win rate based on all of the games that it has played. And I have gotten 80 games total with Rebel Armory. That's combined as the pilot of the deck and playing against it, piloting a different deck. So we can see that the meta kind of has already adapted somewhat to where Rebel Armory is known as one of the best decks in the format because a lot of people are playing it. And so that's where you've gotten the most number of games. As we kind of went over in the beginning of the video, I roll my daily quest, and then those are the colors that I play. So we get kind of a random sampling of what deck I am playing. And if I roll one of the quests where it's like play X number of lands, attack with X number of creatures, then I would play whichever deck had the lowest game count so that I could help even out these numbers a little bit and get the full as much data as possible. One interesting thing that I did find out while doing this experiment is, if you'll notice, Arcane Aggression has never played against Arcane Aggression. Charging Ahead has never played against Charging Ahead. And likewise, all the way down, there are no mirror matches in starter deck duels. I did not know that until I started this experiment. And I found that to be incredibly interesting. Just thought I'd throw it out there. But kind of going back to our overall records, checking it out here, we see Rebel Armory, clear S tier. Our A tier, if you want to call it, is kind of a tie between Scavengers, Legions of Phyrexia, and High Flying Valor. So I wasn't terribly off with those. Arcane Aggression is once again very close. It's just a couple percentage points behind our A tier, so we'll kind of put that in like a B plus tier. With Growing Hope being on our B tier, and then our C tier would be Grave Secrets, Scrapyard Sacrifice, and our D tier being Charging Ahead and Sylvan Wisdom. As we can see, Sylvan Wisdom, the absolute worst deck by a fair margin. It's got less than a 1/3 or a 33% win rate. So yeah, that's just a terrible deck. Don't ever play Sylvan Wisdom. If you're playing your starter decks, grab yourself Rebel Armory for some quick wins. Savage Scavengers, also a very good pick. Legions of Phyrexia was our deck today. And like we said, overall, about a 56% win rate for the deck. Not terrible. Anything over 50% is good. So there you go. I've only been doing this for about a month. I've only got 300 games in. So, I mean, take this with a grain of salt. And let me know what you think in the comments below. Is this kind of what your experience has been with this format? What is your favorite deck? What do you think is the strongest deck? And why? Let me know in the comments below. And maybe catch me next time on stream at 10 p.m. Eastern. And we can go into some more starter deck duels. We can do some constructed. We can do some drafts. Let me know what you want to do, and we can do it. Until then, I will see y'all in the next video.